find out what all these changes mean for us as holidaymakers and also the travel industry. With me is Julia Lo Bue-Said from Advantage Travel Partnership. Julia, you represent a lot of independent travel agents. What difference has the rule change this week made?
It's made a big difference. As you say, it's absolutely simplified the system, made it a lot clearer and given consumers a lot more confidence to think about travel and book their holidays, which is fantastic.
Now, are you seeing more bookings, or is this people going ahead with holidays they've already paid for but have had to postpone?
It's a really good question. So a lot of what's been booked already have been bookings that have been delayed, postponed for the last couple of years, and they've rebooked those for later this month, later in the year and for next year. But we are seeing new bookings as well. The industry is still pretty bruised. We are still trading significantly down, but the good news is that we are starting to see confidence building and more new bookings coming through.
I think a really important point, if people are thinking about holidays, is just because the UK has relaxed its rules, they still need to check what the rules are for the destination they're going to, because those won't necessarily have relaxed.
Yeah, it's very complex. So you do absolutely have to look at the rules for coming back into the UK. Quite separately from that, you do need to check the destination rules. Just because the UK government enable us to travel back from a destination, it doesn't mean that host country is accepting us. So lots of different rules that we need to navigate through and double check.
And this possible change from PCR tests to lateral flow tests on day 2 when you get back to the UK, will that make much difference, do you think?
I'm not sure it's going to make a huge difference nowadays. I think what we've certainly seen the pricing between lateral flow and PCR reducing, so the gap is about £10. Of course, it all makes a difference, but I don't think that's going to be a huge game changer like we did see this week with the relaxing of the pre-departure test. That's made a big difference.
OK, Julia, thank you very much indeed. Let's find out a little bit more about what this means for us as holidaymakers and the travel industry. With me is Julia Lo Bue-Said from Advantage Travel Partnership. Julia, you represent a whole network of independent travel agents. How big a difference has this rule change made in terms of bookings?
It's made a big difference, Ben. What we certainly see now is there's a lot more confidence from consumers to think about booking, looking to travel. The pre-departure test, removal of that, has really opened up the opportunity for travel agents to really help consumers think about those bookings.
But is it people making new bookings and travel agents bringing more money in, or is it people just rebooking holidays that had to be postponed from last year, for example?
Yeah, it's a good point. We've had 20 months of a really difficult trading environment. What we have seen is a lot of consumers where they've not been able to travel have rebooked, so a lot of bookings are full later in this year, for next year as well. But actually we are seeing a lot of new bookings coming through, so a lot more optimistic. The industry's feeling a lot more optimistic as we really help consumers think about travel for half term and later this month as well.
Now, it's one thing for the UK to relax the rules for when people come back from their holiday, but that doesn't necessarily mean the destination will have relaxed its rules, and that's something that people need to make sure they check, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's still very complex, so whilst the UK government has enabled us to travel back into the UK with less restrictions, we still absolutely have to check the destination that we're looking to travel to, be really clear of what those rules are. We also need to check the FCDO advice, which did change yesterday, so that is a slightly, again, simplifying the system, but a lot of different rules that we need to check to make sure we can travel to where we want to go to.
There are still quite a lot of countries on the red list, 50 or so at the moment. Have we got any inkling, any hint of which ones may come off the red list today or this week?
We haven't, and it's always really difficult to speculate and probably not helpful, but we really do hope that the government do start to look at those lists, understand that there are families that are split up across the world that want to be reunited. There are low variants in a lot of these destinations now, so the sooner we can open up countries like South Africa, Mexico, etc., it will be great for the travel industry but also for consumers alike.
This is quite an important time for bookings. What's it looking like for half-term bookings and also people thinking about perhaps Christmas holidays?
Half-term's looking really good, so we're getting a lot of new inquiries coming through for half-term. Hopefully we'll understand shortly around the day 2 test if that's going to change or not. But Christmas, but a lot of long-haul destinations need to open up for Christmas. They're the typical winter-time destinations. So as we start to see those opening up and coming off the red list, hopefully we'll see more inquiries coming through for consumers as well.
Even with countries that are not on the red list at the moment, people still have to budget for taking that day 2 PCR test. And for a family of 4 or 5 perhaps, if they're going on a half-term break, even if the country's not on the red list, they could have to budget an extra £250 to cover the cost of the tests. If the government makes it the cheaper lateral flow test for day 2, do you think that's going to make a difference?
I'm not sure it really will. So what we're seeing now is the difference between the PCR and the lateral flow is about £10. So of course it all makes a difference, it all starts to add up, but I think the pre-departure test that we saw going on Monday is what's made the big difference.
OK, Julia, thank you very much indeed.